We're gonna go into here, we're gonna go to record. Speaker volume is there. I am going to record a new one. Let's hit add. Tap to talk. Eric, if you can hear me, wave back at me. Eric, if you can hear this, wave back at me. Save. So let's go out here, let's go wave. Confirm. Okay. So that's the first one I'm gonna do, which is just waving back at me. Second one is, and let me zoom in actually too. See if he can see me or hear me. All right, here we go. So audio on, play local, wave. Eric, if you can hear me, wave back at me. Eric, if you can hear this, wave back at me.
You see the live view from the drone. On the screen, we have some different options that help us change how we view the thermal images that we are shooting. First up here on the right, where we see the word visible, lets us switch between different camera views. So right now, I'm looking at the color view through the RGB camera. If we switch over to IR, then this will show us the video feed being transmitted back from the thermal camera. What's great when dealing with a smaller, lower resolution camera like the one we have here on the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual is that we can turn on MSX from this list of different viewing modes, which will overlay the outlines of objects found through the color image over top of the thermal image. This gives us a better idea at what we are looking at, and I would go as far as saying you probably shouldn't waste your time shooting in the regular IR mode and just stick with MSX. Next to the rectangle that lets you choose different viewing modes is the outline adjustment, so if what the MSX technology is showing on your screen doesn't line up with what is on the ground, you are able to offset the image vertically and horizontally. I haven't personally had to do this in all of my time flying this drone, but certain use applications might demand this. Moving over to the next icon to the left is for measuring temperatures. Right now, there is no temperature measurement being taken on my screen, but if we wanted to know, say, what the temperature of this pool is, we could use the spot meter to take the heat measurement of basically anything that we see on the screen. They also include an area measurement, which lets you select an area on the screen, and within that box, it will find the highest, the lowest, and the average temperature. You can also resize this box on the screen to meet your needs. The final icon on the home screen here, marked by the letters FFC, stands for Flat Field Correction, and as defined on FLIR's website, there's a shutter in between the camera's sensor and the lens. During FFC, the shutter presents a uniform temperature source to each detector element in the array. While imaging the flat field source, the camera updates the offset correction coefficients, resulting in a more uniform image after the process is complete. And now tapping this FFC icon will calibrate the image, thus optimizing the image quality, allowing changes in temperature to be easily seen. We'll touch on this a little bit later in the video as we get into some of the other camera settings. Now, if this whole time you've been using the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual in a different unit of measurement for temperature than you're used to, you can tap on the three dots in the top right corner, and right here in the general settings, you can change between Fahrenheit, Celsius, or Kelvin. Now, the rest of the settings geared towards the thermal camera are located in the camera settings menu, which can be selected by tapping on the three lines with the three dots underneath of the shutter or the record button. Head on over to the tab marked by the gear icon, and we can change things like the color palette, ROI, isotherm, temp alert, gain mode, and auto FFC. Starting things off with the palette, we can choose between 5 different color schemes to show our temperature differences on the image. We can choose between hotspot, rainbow, gray, hot metal, and cold spot. Now, personally, I find myself using hotspot for most of my jobs, but each of these palettes could prove to be beneficial in different use case scenarios. The next thing that we have to change is ROI, which stands for region of interest, and we have the option to choose fill, sky excluded 33%, or sky excluded 50%. You can select full to evenly distribute the color spectrum across the entire image, and this is typically what I find myself doing. After selecting to exclude the sky, the color spectrum allocated to the sky will be reduced, and a greater color spectrum is allocated to the ground, providing higher contrast and utility for analysis. For example, when looking at the ground, there is not a difference between either of the three options, but where we see a real difference is when we have part of the sky in the frame. Most of the image towards the bottom of the frame is lit up red right now, which is giving us some false readings. Excluding the sky can make the readings even more precise, which can come in handy in certain scenarios. After ROI, we have isotherm, which is one of the most important settings we have here. So if you don't take anything away from from this video. Hopefully you can from this next minute or so of me talking. Now, by definition, isotherm means a line on a map connecting points having the same temperature at a given time or an average over a given period. So it has to do with the temperatures that we are viewing. Right now, with isotherm turned off, the high and low temperatures will change depending on what is in frame. You'll see that as I pan up, the colors change depending on what the high and low temperatures are being picked up by the camera. Now, this can skew the results no matter what you are using this drone for. So when we turn isotherm on, we can select the high and low temperature ourselves to get a more consistent, accurate reading. The two presets that they have in here already are searching people, which sets the low temperature to 80 degrees and the high temperature to 105 degrees, which makes finding people during search and rescue operations in the woods or in a field a lot easier. We also have searching fire here for firefighting operations. Now, at the bottom is a custom option which lets us set the low and high temperatures ourselves to easily dial in the colors we are looking at depending on what situation we are using our drones in. In my own use case scenarios, the colors seen on a roof during inspection have been skewed because the camera was adjusting the reading to the car engines that were much hotter on the ground than the surface of the roof. Isotherm is a really important setting to dial in each time you fly, as it allows you to capture accurate results. After isotherm, we have temperature alert, which allows you to set a certain temperature to look out for. If we're taking a thermal measurement of an area and a temperature exceeds this limit, we get a warning on the bottom of the screen as well as an audible chirp that comes through the device. After temp alert, we have gain mode, which gives us the option of auto or a temperature range of 14 to 284 degrees or 14 to 752 degrees. The high gain mode, which is the smaller difference in temperatures, will let you capture a narrow temperature range with a higher sensitivity, while that low gain mode gives you a wider range of temperatures with lower sensitivity. I usually leave my camera set to auto so that it can adjust on the fly for me. The final setting we have here is auto FFC. So remember, when we had to tap FFC to calibrate it on the home screen, well, with this turned on, it will automatically calibrate the image as you change your frame. I leave this turned on so that I get the best thermal image quality possible without having to remember to always tap on FFC to calibrate it.